Hey guys, welcome to BikeStrong, one of your mini-part series for Triathlon Australia. My name's Nari Atkin, I'm a physiotherapist and a strength and conditioning coach. So today what we're going to do is 3 mobility exercises and 6 strength exercises. I'm going to demonstrate them and go through what you should be looking out for in each of those exercises. It's really important we stay fit and strong as much as possible, especially now that we're not able to use gyms. But making sure that everything's working the way it is so that when we can get back on the bike we're nice and efficient and strong. So our first mobility exercise is going from a child's pose into an up dog or cobra. So we're going to start on all fours on the mat, and from here we're going to then bring our knees nice and wide, feet are staying together. We're going to send our hips back as far as you can, then we're going to reach our arms out. So your arms are reaching and your hips are pulling back. Should be opening up those hips nice and wide. From here we're going to take a nice big deep breath in and transition into a cobra. So cobra is tummy still on the ground, shoulders are pulling back, eyes and chest is up. If you can otherwise go into an up dog. That's where your arms are straight and you find a little bit of your hips come off the mat. Taking a breath in, we're going to transition back into child's pose. Again, really trying to pull with your arms, get your chin or your forehead to the ground, push back through those hips, and transitioning back. Just doing whatever's feeling good for you today. The second mobility exercise we're going to do today is a push-up position to a Spider-Man twist. So we're going to start hands underneath our shoulders, feet nice and long, body nice and long, everything holding in alignment. Then what we're going to do is bring one foot as close as you can get to your hand, and then with that hand we're going to reach up to the ceiling and back down again. So here you're going to get a nice adductor stretch as well as a hip flexor stretch, and then we're going to get some thoracic rotation. Really important that you don't get stiff on the bike. So that's 5. We're going to come back into the push-up position, transition into the other side. The stretch we're going to do is hip flexor and hamstring stretch. So we're going to start in a lunge position. So we've got our nice 90-90 windows here. Our hips, toes, everything is facing forward. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring our arms up. We're just going to push our hips forward. Should be feeling this a little bit more through the front here. We're going to hold for a few seconds. And then what we're going to do is we're going to transition our weight behind, bringing our toes up, and then we're going to get a hamstring stretch. If you can bend at the hips, come forward, otherwise stay nice and tall. Pushing back in, really reaching up, pushing those hips forward, and then coming back into a hamstring stretch. And back up. And back. And then we're going to do this on the other side too. The first of the strength exercises is going to be a powerful triple extension lower limb exercise. So although we don't get into triple extension when we're sitting on the bike, when we have to get up and power either uphill or downhill, we do need to have power between our hips, knees and ankles. So the way that we're going to do this exercise, you're going to need a box, a step, a chair of some description for the most advanced one. So it's going to start facing the box or chair. So what we're going to do is with one leg, we're going to come back behind our body. So we're not coming back into a full lunge, we just kind of come back into a propulsion position. We're going to come back here, and then we're going to transition our weight forward, coming up onto our toe on our back foot, and bringing our front leg up onto the chair. So you can see that I'm in a good triple extension power position here. Just going to do a little bit quicker. So some common mistakes are not coming up onto the back foot onto your toe, coming up onto the toe onto the chair, and sometimes coming into hitting the chair, which means that you're not getting your leg up and over enough. A way that you can modify this, if you don't want to step back, you can go from a standing position and just practice coming up. So again, we're just getting that power up off our feet. And if you want to modify or regress this even more so, you can start on the chair and just work into a calf raise. So you're just getting that end stage power production through the calf and triple extension. The whole time we want to make sure that our hips are being held nice and high and nice and even. So the next exercise, we're going to do an RDL, which is a Romanian deadlift, into a high knee. So what we're working on here is the eccentric hamstring strength. We're working on some lumbar pelvic hip control, and then we're also working on balance. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you from side view. Keeping our hips nice and tall, a little bit of a bend through the leg. We're going to fold at our hips, coming down so we're in a nice straight line. I don't mind if you touch the ground or not, or if you have something in front of you which gives you a bit of balance. Then we're going to come up into a high knee. So the whole time my hips are staying nice and even, and they're moving together as a unit. Down into a high knee. Happy for you to use your arms as much as you wish to balance. Common mistakes here are having your hips what I call open, so that they're coming out as you're coming down. So I want to make sure that your hips are closed and your toes are pointing towards the ground. Another one is people locking out completely, which makes them really off balance. It just makes this exercise a little bit harder. The exercise we're going to work on today is called a jump lunge. So we're working on quad strength, but also some propulsive power. So I'm going to show you both from front on and side view. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down into a lunge position. So again, we don't want this back knee to be touching the ground. We want to have a nice 90-90 set up. Knees, hips, and toes are facing forward. So starting, we're going to come down, we're going to jump up into our other lunge position. What you can do to make this easier is we can just go into a step lunge. So just going into a reverse lunge. Everything alignment-wise is still the same, making sure that you've got your 90-90 hips and toes facing forward. Otherwise, we want to be down in this position and we're going to jump. I'll show you from the front view. So coming down into the jump and lunge. The next exercise is a mountain climber into a push-up. So the starting position, we're going to be in a push-up position. So again, shoulders over hands, a nice strong line between our shoulders and feet. So a mountain climber is just bringing one knee up, another knee up. So you can do this as slow or as fast as you want to make it either easier or harder. And obviously your push-up, what we're going to do is setting our shoulders down and back. We can come down to the ground and pushing up again. So to put it all together, we're going to do a So a way to make this easier is just by doing the mountain climbers. Or if you want to add in a push-up as well, we can do a mountain climber, and you can come down into your knees to do the push-up. Back up into the mountain climbers, push-up. So although we're not using our upper body for cycling as much as we're using our lower legs, it's still really important to be able to hold body position and in order to have some pulling on the bike control. Common mistakes are people flaring the elbows out for the push-ups and otherwise moving the body position. So coming up into this position to either do your push-up or your mountain climbers. So making sure you're keeping the hips down nice and low. So the next exercise, what we're going to work on is a glute bridge. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on our backs. Legs just a little bit apart from each other, but our hips, knees and feet are in train tracks. With your hands, you can either have them beside you or across your chest. We want to really make sure that our lumbar spine is pushing into the ground. From here, what we're going to do is squeeze our glutes, and in squeezing our glutes, what we're going to get is a little bit of a posterior tilt. That's going to ensure we're activating the glutes and not using our back. So we're going to squeeze through the glutes, push through our heels, raising our hips up. From here, what you should see is a nicer line from our knees, hips and shoulders, and then we're going to slowly control down and relaxing everything. Squeeze and raise, coming down, squeeze and raise. So some common mistakes are people using their backs. So that will look kind of like this. So what I'm doing is I'm arching my back, I'm getting minimal glute activation and really not much hamstring activation either. I'm using it all through here. So it's really important to make sure that we're keeping our ribs down and we're squeezing through the bottom. Way to make this harder is we can come all the way up and you can lift one leg off the ground. Trying to keep your hips staying in the same alignment. What we're going to do is we're going to add some instability through the hips there, making it a little bit harder. Coming back down, or you can try doing a single leg variation. There is quite a jump though from doing a double leg into a single leg, so just play around and feel what's good for you today. So our last exercise is going to be a plank. So a plank is basically a core stabilization exercise. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some variations to it. So we've got some perturbations, which just means that you're having to work against some form of resistance to stabilize even more so, which is the same as when you're on the bike. You've got to constantly be restabilizing, making sure that you're staying on top of those small wheels. So a plank is normally from your elbows. So elbows are under shoulders, on your toes. Again, alignment is probably the most important thing. Very common for people to be up here when it's starting to get sore and painful, but we want to bring you as low as you can. Another common mistake is people's shoulders really protracted and really sitting high up in here to stabilize. So you want to make sure these shoulder blades are actually retracted slightly. So one of the first variations is coming up onto your hands. So it's just called a plank walk. So we're coming up to a push-up position, down into a plank, and back up again. What we're trying to do is minimize our movement of our hips side to side. Another variation is walking out with our feet, so we can come out and back in again. Out and back in again. And the last variation, which I'm going to show you, is probably one of my favorites. So we're going to come up, and then what we're going to do is we're going to draw a little rainbow with our hips side to side. So we're just going to get some obliques in there as well. Again, a way to make this easier, the same as push-ups, we can do planks from our knees. So finding your plank position, and we can go from here. And you can still do the same if you want to do it with your walks. Or just holding in for the plank.